Hey guys, so this is actually kind of a fairly important video because after the whole knockout situation, I wanted to make, an announcement and just talk about because I've gotten a lot of requests. Just a lot of requests. And I know about a lot of fan bases, but there are, people are like, well, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? There's probably reasons why, and it usually comes down to one of three things. One is I have other videos in the uploading schedule. I upload a lot of things. So I try to keep my core stuff that I focus on being Star Wars, Five Nights at Freddy's, My Little Pony, and Transformers. And those will be like the four core ones I will focus on. And there's reasons as to why all of these are by far the biggest fan bases that played a role in my childhood. Star Wars was the very first piece of media I ever watched. I've been a fan of it since I was 3. I've been in the fandom for a super long time, and my knowledge of it is ever spanning and die hard, and I will never be able to stop milking it, essentially. My Little Pony came in later. I joined later on in the fandom, but it came in a moment of my life where I was going through a lot of trouble and really became an autism comfort show for me. And so I really delved into exploring the lore and the fan base and all of that. It was important because it was the first show that really got me to kind of accept the more girly and feminine sides of things that I liked. It was something that spoke to me to teach me to accept those sides of things because I always had them. It's just I kept them deeply repressed until that show. Five Nights at Freddy's was my first ever foray into horror. It was a genre I avoided for the longest amount of time simply because I never found anything that really spoke to me. But the sci-fi elements of FNAF that really, it's what really drug me into it. And then I started reading the books, and I gradually went from watching people play horror games to playing horror games to reading horror books. And I'm still not to horror movies yet, but Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, was my first. So it's important in that regard. And there's a reason why Air, MLP, and FNAF ASMR's pretty close in conjunction to one another. It's because of the fact that I actually found out about FNAF through the My Little Pony community. I first learned about FNAF through watching a sister location PMV of Left Behind by DA Games, featuring animatronic pony characters. It was an SMV video. Not SMV, it was an SFM video. And that was, after that, I watched FNAF playthroughs by popular MMOs, and then I discovered Dawko and Fusion, and the rest is history. And Transformers was the first movie I ever saw in cinemas, period. Transformers 2007 was the first thing I ever saw in cinemas. It was my first, it was my major birthday that I remember. And it was, a really big part. Transformers was always there in my childhood. And so these four will make up the main four things that I cover. Now let's go over both the requests and some things that I will be doing or won't be doing. Even if they weren't requested to me, they're just some things that I will or will not do on this channel. Just for one reason or another. Other reasons is maybe I just don't know enough about the lore. Maybe I never cared about it. Maybe I actively despise it. Or I don't feel because I only want to provide content that I feel that will be worth its value to you guys. And that's really only doable if I understand the source material I'm working with. And there are some things that I don't understand the source material I'm working with, or I actively despise the source material I'm working with, or it's just going to land me in a whole heap of trouble. So that's why if you see certain things requested, I won't do some things. Now, I'll start off with one of the really biggest ones. I have gotten a lot of requests to do Steven Universe. As of right now, I will probably not be doing Steven Universe. The reasons why is I am not well versed in many Cartoon Network shows from the early 2010s. I'm just not. I'm not well versed in this show, its lore, or any of its characters. I don't really know where to watch it at, and if anyone can, help me get into this and give me a place to watch it, comment down below. But I've heard that its fan base has had some controversy, but I don't know if it's anything that would put me under fire or put me into a bad situation. I really only know about it because it was one of those shows that Lily Orchard hated, and I knew about her because the FNAF fan base and the MLP fan base, she wrote 2 fan fictions there that were infamous and I couldn't escape hearing about. So I heard about her video on Steven Universe, but I didn't know anything about the lore or its characters. I do know about the movie. I know about the song Other Friends, and I kind of have an idea of Spinell's backstory, but I don't think I can make a video yet when I just really don't know this world or its lore. And I wouldn't be providing anything, worthy of value to anybody. I passed it up back when I was younger because the show kind of marketed itself as a slice of life style thing. And this was the same age when I was watching Clone Wars, so I really just kind of passed it up. I was watching Clone Wars and then Jago, and just nothing about Steven Universe from the outside ever really caught my eye. The advertisements for it on Cartoon Network were pretty vague about what it was about, so I never really got into it. And I think that's why to this day it's one of those things that has admittedly a pretty large fandom that I just am kind of unaware about because it flew under my radar. Despite having literally flown underneath my radar though, it's always been around me and I've always been aware of it. For example, I played Brawlhalla, so I would constantly run into the Garnet, Pearl, and the Amethyst crossover characters there, along with Stivoni. I'd run into those characters there. My friend, Kitty Comfort, liked the show and its songs and would send me the songs. It was just a constant presence that I'd always run into, but I never understood what it was about, and I can't find a source to watch it. So if you guys know, you can, provide me that, and maybe I can try to get into this world and its lore and see, what I can pull from it. I am admittedly not well versed in this franchise. Maybe there's some characters in it that have interesting designs that I wouldn't mind doing, but if you can give me a good resource to, watch this show and just kind of learn about it, then maybe Steven Universe could come to the channel. Another show that I'm going to avoid, and even though I know about it, I'm just not going to do it because She-Ra, Netflix She-Ra. I loved the show for the first season and second season, but the third season was so bad and infuriated me so much that I just don't think I can touch the show anymore. I liked it when it started out, but then it just got really, really bad. And if I do videos based on it, I'm really only just going to get more angry that the show went in the direction it did. And just, I am not mad about Catra and Adora being lesbians or whatever. I'm just mad that the writing sucked, that the episodes were uninteresting, and it just went in a direction I didn't want it to go in. I wanted it to go in a similar direction to the original He-Man action adventure thing like that, and it just went into this really campy, shippy direction and didn't really do a lot to justify the Catradora ship working. And then on top of that, there was the whole Shadow Weaver arc that was just a mess. And then it entrapped it. These videos would just turn into a rant. So I'm just going to avoid the show. I think that's just for the best. I said I'm not familiar with Cartoon Network shows from the early 2010s, and unfortunately that means no regular show on this channel. Never watched it, never could get into it. I've heard it's a similar to Rick and Morty, and I don't like that type of stuff. I don't like the really non-action fantasy based stuff. I like fantasy, I like action, I like sci-fi, and I like slice of life inside of Star Wars, but it's just stuff like this that I just don't like. And I remember seeing bits of it when I was younger. The show just seemed to me to be dull, slow paced. Nothing really happens in it. And it's like, it has this very laid back, non-action packed vibe, because at least with Gumball, The Amazing World of Gumball, that I did like, it was very bombastic and very like off the edge, comedic, and just kind of off its rocker. This was slow, laid back. I just never cared about it. And then on top of it, it just had to give me a vendetta against it when the whole Mordecai ship emerged, and that made me just hate this show forever, because that ship is an abomination, and anybody that ships it is just you're dead to me. I'm sorry. I hated that when it popped up, because Mordecai was one of the reasons why I hated this show so much, because he is such a dull, nothing main character to me. And he was partially the reason why I could never get into it. Everything in this show just seemed boring to me, and if you like it, that's fine. It just isn't for me, so it is not going to be on this channel. You couldn't pay me $1 million to touch the Genshin Impact fandom, man. There will never be a Genshin Impact video on this channel, ever. So long as the fandom remains the trash fire that it is, I am not touching that cancerous tumor. I am not touching Genshin. If you want a Genshin roleplay, go find someone else. You're not finding it here. End of story. No. The other reason why is there's just a lot of gay characters in Genshin Impact, and that kind of goes with the other thing. I am never going to do any overtly highly shipped gay character ever. That means no Stolas, no Blitzo, no more Knockout, unless it's in a non-romantic tense, none of any of the gay boys from Genshin Impact, and no Deku or Bakugo from My Hero Academia. Call me homophobic, but there will be no gay characters that I will play as on this channel, be it from a fandom or of my own creation. Just none. My opinions on The Amazing Digital Circus has changed. When the show first came out, it was bad. I hated the pilot. It was a overly convoluted mess, poorly paced, overrated, bad humor. It was bad. Episode 2 was just an indescribable mess with bad voice acting. I couldn't tell what was going on, and I just decided at that point that I wanted to leave the show. And then my friend told me to watch episode 3, and I got hope. Episode 3 is the best in the series thus far. It's the only one that is worth watching. I would tell people, if you're going to get into The Amazing Digital Circus, skip the pilot and skip episode 2. Just watch episode 3 onwards, because you're going to drop out if you watch the first 2. So I am not going to do every single character from The Amazing Digital Circus, but I am open to doing role plays. I am open to maybe doing Pomni or Kane. Ragatha would be so much fun. But there's ones I'm just not going to touch. Zubul, forget it. I don't like her. Don't care about her. You're not going to get a Zubul video. Gangle, maybe. Have to think about what to do with Gangle. Kinger's fine. Most of the main cast, I will probably do. And the only one I'm not touching is Jax. Sorry, just same reasons as the other gay boys. Just not touching them. I never grew up with a really solid way for me to access The Legend of Zelda or its franchise. I've only really played one game, The Legend of the Wind Waker, and I am not entirely familiar with Zelda lore, and I do not have the means to get every single game and play through them. And there's no good way for me to really learn all of the really intense lore, because I just don't have clean access to all of it. Zelda was one of those franchises that is very mainstream, more so than Steven Universe, I'd argue, and it's the one that always eluded me. I remember playing Legend of the Wind Waker, and I thought it was okay. It was way too hard for me when I was little, because there was a boss segment that genuinely frustrated me, because it was like the one where you play as like a child or something. I don't know a lot of Zelda lore, I will admit, and maybe some role plays will come from it, but just don't expect too much, because I just genuinely don't know enough about this franchise to really make something worthwhile. I am honestly really hesitant to do anything with the SCP community. After what I go through with them in the Trevor Henderson videos, and just my opinions of them have really soured. And on top of that, I just don't like doing horror all that often if I can't spin it into a, comfort vibe. Because I just don't like doing things that don't end well. Like, I'm not afraid to do scary. I like doing scary, but I just don't like just how overly vast and convoluted SCP has become. And it's gotten to the point where I understand it even less than I do the backrooms. Like, I wish this fandom would just stop constantly adding on things into this lore that just should have stopped expanding so long ago, because it reached its natural endpoint, but they just continue doing it. And I am afraid to make a video on it, because if I say something, I'm gonna get all those comments of those people doing the whole well, actually type thing, and I just don't like dealing with that. So I just think it's best if I just don't do any videos for SCP. You can expect Monster High to come to this channel at one point. Most of my friends don't know this, but it has actually played a really major role in my childhood, so I will always feel some sort of nostalgia over it, and that is why there are things I can do with it. I had a female cousin that was basically like the sister I never had, that she would, make me play with her girl toys, and she had these dolls that, like, I didn't take to the Barbies very well, but I always thought these were interesting, and she was well versed about the character descriptions and things like that. And we would always play together. Usually I would play as like Claudine or Draculaura, because those two were my favorite. I also liked, I forget her name at the moment. Spooky gal that's like purple. My friend is well versed on this. She'll probably correct me in the comments. She's like all purple. But yeah. Edit, I just now remembered her name is Twyla. So, yeah, a lot of people don't know that it, like, always played a role in my childhood, and I always feel, like, nostalgia when I look at it. I've always liked the idea. It's been a constant presence in my childhood, and the only thing is, don't expect it to necessarily be like the movies. I will probably run with the character descriptions on the back of the box. You know, the ones that are like on the back of the box, and just try to, like, do my own version of things. The reason why is the movies, I'm sorry, are just bad. They are boring, dull, uninteresting, and not worth watching. It's not like My Little Pony, where there's a bit of, stuff in it for everyone. The Monster High movies just wallow in the female movie cliches. And expect Monster High to come to this channel, but do not expect it, to be like the movies. But expect I will remain faithful to the character descriptions on the back of the box. Because if I don't, a certain friend of mine will murder me. But I will remain faithful to the character descriptions. But don't expect a one-to-one remake of the animated show. As much as I hate the majority of these people, I admit I could have some fun with MHA with certain characters. My Hero Academia I have criticized in the past for basically kind of being a ripoff of, like, X-Men put into a high school setting. I've kind of made fun of it for that in the past, and this fandom I have received, like, genuine, trauma from before, but I've always loved some of the fascinating character designs, and I do think some positive interactions from some of the more positive sides of the fandom, which I do see really wholesome comments underneath other ASMR videos that I see featuring these characters. I think that would help me feel better about the whole thing. And I would love, I could have some fun with Tatsu, Mina, um, just like any of the really fun characters, Ochako, Kirishima, just like any of those people. I'm just probably not gonna do Deku or Bakugo because those two seem to be the problematic ones. So yeah, can someone inform me of a good place to watch Doctor Who? I'm like still getting into this fandom and my knowledge is limited. And yes, I will be doing videos on it, but I just really need more knowledge on it. And it's so hard to find where to watch this show. Like even like you can find the older like the really old stuff just fine, but like 10th Doctor forward, it's really hard to get to. And I don't want to pay a lot of money to do so. I'm like just can someone give me a resource for this, please? Thank you. I'm a major comics nerd, so the fact that a Marvel/DC video has not appeared on this channel yet is a dadgum miracle, and you should expect to see both of these very soon. I like grew up as like the weird comic book kid. I grew up playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, both games on the Wii, and then my first exposure to DC was I watched the Christopher Reeve Superman films, and then I read some Superman and Batman comics, and then I played the Lego Batman video game, the first one and the second one and the third one. So I've always been a big superhero guy. I guess the reason why I haven't made any videos on them yet was because I just didn't know what to do or if this whole ASMR gig would take off. But now that it has, I'm definitely going to be doing more superhero stuff. The same, however, cannot be said. Whew. Tolkien, man. I will probably do talking about Tolkien and his universe and definitely making memes and stuff. But I am sorry, it is just way too over my head to do an ASMR for that would just be worth doing. It would just be way too overly complicated, and I don't know if I'd be able to get away with doing it. It's a bit much, and it would break my mind, quite frankly. I don't think it's something that I should do. Lego properties will definitely be coming to this channel. Ninjago, Chima, and Bionicle, all three of those will be coming. Monkey Kid I have not seen yet, but it might come in the future. But Ninjago and Bionicle will probably be the two I focus on. I am well versed in Bionicle lore, and I have basically seen the entirety of what Ninjago has to offer. So, definitely expect those to be coming. I do not feel as nostalgic for Ever After High as I do for Monster High, but there are cool ideas in it. And maybe, it's a big maybe, I might work with it, maybe. I'll probably continue this in a part 2, so you don't have to sit through 50 minutes, but stay tuned for part 2 so that way you'll know everything I'm about to go over.